There's a psychological weapon so powerful that toxic people fear it more than confrontation. It's called the gray rock method. And if you've ever dealt with someone who feeds on drama, manipulation, or emotional chaos, this technique will make you invisible to their attacks. No screaming, no blocking, no revenge. Just pure, calculated indifference. They'll lose interest in you like a predator loses interest in dead prey. Here's how it works. The gray rock method has one rule: be as interesting as a rock. Toxic people, narcissists, and manipulators need your emotional reactions to survive. They feed on anger, sadness, defensiveness, even joy. When you show emotion, you give them power, so you cut off their supply. When they try to provoke you, your response is flat, neutral, boring. They insult you? Okay. They bring up the past. I see.
They try to start a fight?
Maybe. No explanations, no justifications, just short, emotionless responses. Your face stays calm, your voice stays monotone. You become a gray rock, uninteresting, unrewarding, and this drives them insane, because manipulation only works when the victim reacts. Without your reaction, they have nothing. Think of it like this. A manipulator is like a fisherman. They throw out bait, waiting for you to bite. Every time you react, you're biting the hook. They reel you in. They control the conversation. They win. But when the fish stops biting, the fisherman gets frustrated and eventually leaves to find better fishing waters. You need to become the fish that never bites. No matter how tempting the bait looks, you ignore it. But here's the problem. Being boring isn't enough. You need to control what you share. Information is ammunition. Every detail you share about your life, your plans, your feelings, becomes a tool they use against you later. So you stop feeding them. They ask about your weekend? It was fine. Your new job? It's okay. Your relationship? Nothing new. You give them nothing to work with. No stories, no complaints, no victories, just gray, lifeless responses. This isn't about being rude. It's about being strategic. Toxic people study you. They remember what hurts you, what excites you, what scares you. Then they weaponize it. By sharing nothing, you leave them with no bullets to fire. Let's say you tell them you got a promotion. 2 weeks later, during an argument, they'll say, "You think you're so special now with your new job. That promotion just became a weapon against you." Or you mention you're stressed about money. Later, they'll use it to make you feel small. Everything you share gets twisted and stored for future attacks. And if they push harder, asking more questions, digging for details, you stay vague. "I don't really remember. Not much going on." You bore them into submission. You become a locked safe they can't crack. But what if they notice you've changed? What if they call you out? The moment you explain why you're being distant, you've already lost. Because now they know the gray rock method is working, and they'll try harder to break you. So when they say, "Why are you being so cold?" you don't defend yourself. You say, "I'm not." When they accuse you of ignoring them, you say, "I've been busy." Short, simple, no emotion. Never tell them what you're doing. Never say, "I'm using the gray rock method because you're toxic." That turns it into a game, and they love games. Instead, you just exist. You show up when necessary, say the minimum, and leave. Here's what happens when you explain yourself. You give them insight into your strategy. You hand them the playbook. Now they know exactly what to do to break through your defenses. Suddenly, you're the bad guy. They've flipped the script. You went from victim to villain in their story. But if you simply stay silent, that makes them doubt themselves. Am I boring? Why aren't they reacting anymore? They start to feel powerless. And powerless manipulators either give up or move on to easier targets. But this only works if you can handle what comes next. Because things are about to get worse. Here's what most people don't expect. When you first use the gray rock method, things get worse, much worse. This is called an extinction burst. The manipulator realizes their usual tactics aren't working, so they escalate. They get louder, more aggressive, more emotional. They might insult you harder, guilt trip you, even threaten you. They're testing to see if you'll crack. Think of it like a child throwing a tantrum when their parent stops giving them candy. The child screams louder, hoping the parent will give in. But if the parent stays firm, the tantrum eventually stops. They might show up unannounced, send 100 messages, call you at midnight, spread rumors, play the victim to mutual friends. I don't know what happened. They just changed. They'll try every trick in the book to get a reaction from you. This is the test. This is where most people break. They think, maybe if I just explain one more time, and the moment they do, the manipulator learns that extinction bursts work. You must stay gray during this phase. No matter how hard they push, you remain calm, boring, emotionless. Because the moment you react, you've taught them that they just need to push harder next time. This is the breaking point. Most people fail here. But if you survive the extinction burst, you win. They'll either leave you alone or move on to someone easier to control. But what if you can't completely cut them off? What if you're forced to see them? Sometimes you can't go no contact. Maybe it's a coworker, a family member, an ex you share kids with. You're forced to interact. So you use strategic visibility. You show up. You do what's required, but you give nothing extra. In meetings, you speak only when necessary. At family events, you're polite but distant. During custody exchanges, you stick to facts. Pickup is at 6. She needs her jacket. No small talk, no personal updates. You become a professional version of yourself. Efficient, cordial, unremarkable. You're visible enough that they can't accuse you of avoiding them, but invisible enough that they get bored. If it's a coworker, you discuss only work. The report is done. Nothing about your personal life. You become a work robot, polite, professional, empty. If it's family, you attend gatherings but stay on the edges. You help with dishes. You smile politely, but you don't engage in deep conversations. And here's the key. You never let them see you happy around others. Because if they see you laughing with someone else, they'll know you're only gray with them. And that gives them proof that you're doing this on purpose. So you stay consistently gray in every interaction with everyone who might report back to them. You become a master of emotional camouflage. But there's one final rule, the most important one, and most people break it without realizing. The gray rock method only works if they think your lack of reaction is natural. The moment they realize you're using a technique, they'll adapt. They'll find new ways to break through. So you never slip. You never smile when they fail to provoke you. You never tell your friends, I'm gray rocking them and it's working, because word travels, and toxic people have spies. Maybe it's a mutual friend who doesn't realize they're being used. Maybe it's a family member who mentions something in passing. Yeah, she said she's just focusing on herself now. That's all the manipulator needs to hear. Now they know it's intentional. You also never suddenly switch back to being emotional, even if they apologize, even if they promise they're different now. This is often a trap. They're testing to see if you'll let your guard down. They'll say, I'm sorry for everything. I want to make things right. And if you respond with relief, with emotion, with hope, you're back in their game. The apology was bait, and you bit. Stay gray, for months if you have to, until they've completely lost interest, until they've found a new source of drama, until they've forgotten you exist. You'll know it's working when they stop trying, when the messages stop, when they barely acknowledge you anymore. Only then, when you're free, can you be yourself again, but not with them. Never with them. The Grey Rock method isn't about revenge. It's about survival. It's about taking back control when you can't walk away. Toxic people don't respect boundaries. They don't respond to logic, but they do respond to boredom. Become the most uninteresting person in their life and watch them disappear. But remember this, the method only works if you commit fully. One emotional reaction, one piece of personal information, one moment of weakness, and you're back to square zero. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You need discipline. You need patience. You need to stay gray even when everything inside you wants to explode. So stay gray, stay silent, stay free. If you want more psychological strategies like this, subscribe, but do it quietly. We don't need the attention.